Welcome back, everybody. Thank you. Big thank you going out to all my new subscribers. Really appreciate it. You're really helping out the channel. Everybody else, if you have not subscribed, down in the corner. Alright? Don't worry about the wolf, he doesn't bite. So this time we're doing 20 of the most famous cold cases of all time. So welcome to part 1. Let's get into it. On the night of July 25, 1841, Mary Rogers, who lived in New York City, told her mother and fiance she was spending the evening visiting relatives in New Jersey. The 21-year-old left and never returned home. 3 days later, they found her badly beaten body turned up, floating in the Hudson River near Hoboken, New Jersey. No one could imagine who might have had the motive to harm Mary, other than her fiance. However, he had an alibi, airtight alibi. Mary attracted a slew of admirers who knew her as a beautiful cigar girl, which was her job, working downtown at a cigar emporium. No one seemed to suspect a stalker might be involved in her disappearance. The only witness claiming to have seen Mary that night told a story involving an illegal abortion ring that didn't seem to fit and couldn't be corroborated. Within a year, the case had gone cold, and Mary's fiance committed suicide by overdosing on a type of opium on that very shore where her body was washed up. The whole tragic tale might have faded from history, except an author, Edgar Allan Poe, who had become obsessed with the case, memorialized it in The Mystery of Mary. Similar to its real-life counterpart, the tale ends with the trail going hopelessly cold. Between August and November 1888, 5 prostitutes turned up dead on the streets of London's Whitechapel neighborhood. All were found within a mile of one another, 2 on the same night. All had their throats slashed from left to right. The lead investigators on the case suspected the killer was left-handed. All but one had been gutted with precision, leading the investigators to suspect the killer might have been trained as a butcher or a surgeon. The killer managed to commit these murders and escape undetected, which suggested the killer was familiar with the rhythms of the neighborhood. The murderer, whom the press referred to as Jack the Ripper, was never identified. Perhaps Jack the Ripper died before he was able to carry out any more additional murders, or perhaps his kills evolved over time as other murders occurred in Whitechapel over the next 3 years, which bore some similarities to Jack's work. In either case, Jack the Ripper is now long gone, and it appears he has taken his identity with him to the grave. Of course, that doesn't stop us from speculating as to whom he might have been. Wherever turn of the 20th century Norwegian immigrant Belle Gunness went, people had a bad habit of turning up dead, especially well-insured people, including several of her husbands, her boyfriend, her children. Still, it took a quarter century and at least 40 kills for anyone to even suspect Belle might have been the common denominator. But before a solid case against Belle could be put together, Belle's farmhouse burnt to the ground on April 28, 1908. And Belle's remains were thought to be found inside by investigators. With no other visible suspects, all the murder cases with respect to which Belle was under investigation went cold. But that's not the only case that went cold that day. It turns out the fire was arson, and Belle's hired hand, Ray Lamphere, was convicted of setting the fire. He was acquitted with regard to Belle's resulting death when he convinced the jury Belle wasn't dead, but rather she had hired him to start the fire to help her fake her death. Such as Belle's death remains unsolved. On March 31st, 1922, 5 members of the Gruber family, along with their maid, were murdered. The Gruber family farm in Bavaria, Germany. It was nearly a week before the massacre was discovered, due in part to the remoteness of the Hinterkaifeck farm and to the Patrice unpopularity in the community. He was known as a bully and a wife beater, and had spent 1 year in prison after being convicted of incest with his widowed daughter, Victoria, who was also one of the victims. The delay, which gave the predator a significant head start in escaping, may have been a significant factor in why, despite the lengthy investigation and the identification of at least 100 suspects, the case was never solved. In addition, circumstances including strange footprints in the snow and strange noises coming from the attic suggest the predator may have been living unknown and undetected in the Gruber house for at least 6 months. That would have given the killer ample time to plot the crime, or sufficient familiarity with the property to escape undetected, even if the crime was committed impulsively. Since another theory is the killer was Victoria's husband, who, according to the theory, wasn't dead at all, but living elsewhere under an assumed name. Conveniently, since no one ever suspected a dead man of murder. Aspiring actress Elizabeth Short was just 22 years old when she was found murdered in a vacant lot in Los Angeles on January 15, 1947. The Black Dahlia case led a lengthy investigation that included a roster of more than 150 suspects. What was lacking, however, was any hard evidence or even remotely reliable witness. Today, the Black Dahlia murder remains one of the oldest cold case files in Los Angeles, as well as the city's most famous. According to the Black Dahlia is one of 14 crimes that are likely to remain cold forever. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Alright, so there you go. There's 5 out of 20. Alright, so this may end up being a 3-part or a 4-part. So get ready. And for all you new people, again, I can't thank you enough for subscribing. Everybody else, please subscribe. Unsubscribed is up like 92%. Gotta bring that down. So get down there and subscribe. Alright? Come on, guys. Go over here. Down there. Subscribe. So anyways, yeah, like, share, subscribe. And yeah, you'll get more. You'll get a lot more. Peace. I'm out.